Hello, and welcome to part 4 of our podcast series that is centered on the working relationship between strategic sourcing and marketing groups. This is Kathleen Jordan with Source One, and I'm back to complete our discussion with our 4th and final installment of this series. Throughout this series, we've talked about the history of the sourcing and marketing relationship, and we've also touched upon how the two parties should work together. And in addition to that, we've walked through a sourcing process example as it relates to one of the key selection processes for a marketing team, the agency search. And finally, today we wanted to share a case study with you that applies a lot of the topics we've covered throughout this series. And so the case study we'll be walking through really demonstrates how a procurement group within an organization can benefit from partnering with a strategic sourcing consulting firm like Source One to address marketing's needs. So let's begin by talking about the situation. A global pharmaceutical company's strategic sourcing group engaged Source One to operate as an extension of their team. The pharma company had a particular product that was seeking FDA approval, and an expected launch was rapidly approaching. The marketing group overseeing the particular product identified the need to onboard various agencies to support the upcoming campaign. And therefore, the brand team engaged the company's strategic sourcing group for assistance, who in turn got Source One involved to further support the brand team. And so based on the situation, let's then cover the needs and challenges. The product's marketing team required a variety of agencies with ranging core competencies, including creative, digital, medical education, and public relations services. And one of the underlying challenges facing the brand was its niche target audience as the product treated a rare disease. And so it was a key objective to find agencies that had the healthcare background along with the rare disease experience. And the timelines for onboarding the agencies were aggressive as well. And so then in order to effectively address the needs and challenges we just covered, a solution needed to be drawn up. And so Source One collaborated with the company's internal strategic sourcing group as well as the brand team to essentially act as decision support. We navigated the marketplace to identify agencies best suited to connect with the niche patient and physician community, and essentially we conducted 4 separate agency searches. And each search included identifying viable candidates, which marketing approved. We also developed the appropriate sourcing documentation, the RFIs and the RFPs. And we also analyzed the proposals, the RFI submissions, as well as the RFP submissions. And from there, we then held on-site pitch presentations in which the agency finalists were invited on-site to present their ideas face-to-face to the brand team. And each selection process focused on a specific set of skills and criteria to effectively and accurately evaluate the RFP participants. So for example, during the creative agency search, we focused on the agency's experience in developing and executing launch campaigns. Whereas during the digital agency search, we wanted to learn about each agency's user experience and mobile and website development capabilities, as well as their overall digital strategy execution. And so then getting into the results of each agency search, as it relates to the digital agency search, once the brand team determined the finalists, Source One recommended cementing the relationship with a functional rather than a blended rate card. And that really helped rationalize the number of quoted hours tied to web and app development fees. Results for the creative agency search came in the form of a comprehensive competitive rate card. Source One negotiated with the finalist agency's parent company to develop a rate card across the agency network, which ensured that competitive rates were established for other services potentially needed as the campaign evolved. And the 2 results that I just covered really tied to the quantitative aspects of the agency searches. But one thing I wanted to point out is that during each agency search, Source One was mindful of the qualitative aspects of each candidate just as much, if not more, than the quantitative elements. The qualitative aspects were almost always given more weight than the quantitative ones, which is standard considering the strategic nature of the category. And so we performed a quantitative analysis during each sourcing process that supplemented the decision-making process, but it did not drive the decision in one direction or another. Weaknesses identified within the qualitative portions of the agency's proposals were almost always considered deal breakers, and where we identified quantitative weaknesses such as uncompetitive rate cards or compensation structures, those were addressed later on through negotiations with the agency finalists. And so other success factors included the fact that the agencies onboarded as a result of these sourcing initiatives have gone on to deliver effective campaigns for Source One's client. The primary reasons for success were that the evaluation process incorporated accurate scopes of work as well as clear selection criteria. And in addition to that, another success factor was that there was clear communication between marketing and sourcing throughout all the engagements. And the two parties really collaborated effectively with one another, and they understood everyone's roles and responsibilities during each sourcing process. And now, the 4 agencies that were onboarded, they currently undergo regular evaluation procedures to ensure that each relationship stays on track. And this should be the case with all strategic partners. And the last result I wanted to share that relates to this case study is that across the 4 sourcing initiatives, the pharmaceutical company was able to realize additional funds in its budget, approximately 7%. And so that 7% was then allocated back to the marketing budget for additional marketing efforts that the brand team saw fit at a later time. And so that completes our 4-part podcast series discussing the relationship between strategic sourcing and marketing. This podcast is an extension of our recently published Marketing Insights report that's titled Fueling Effective Collaboration: How Strategic Sourcing Delivers Results for Marketing Groups. So we invite you to check out the written report and visit us on the web at sourceoneinc.com/marketing, where you can download the report and learn more about Source One's services as it relates to the marketing category. So this is Kathleen Jordan with Source One signing off. Thanks for tuning in with us today.